It's Matthew 7, verses 1 to 12. And we've been going through this teaching discourse. And whilst this isn't the end of it, verse 12 gives us the summation, I think, of everything that we've been looking at. Good morning, Linda. So this continues on from these sayings of Jesus. And this is like a collection, almost like the book of Proverbs, a collection of wisdom sayings, guiding sayings for us to take note of and build into our lives. Do not judge, so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbour's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? And how can you say to your neighbour, let me take that speck out of your eye, whilst the log is in your own eye? You hypocrites! First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbour's eye. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them underfoot and turn and maul you. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened for you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who searches finds. And for everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. Is there anyone among you who, if your child asks for bread, will give a stone? Or if the child asks for a fish, will give a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. For this is the law and the prophets. Good morning, Valerie. Well, as I say, you could combine this with no one can serve two masters, with the eye is a lamp of the body. Whenever you fast, do not look, do not store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. These are all ways of being. Love your enemy as another one. And Jesus is saying, I've not come to abolish the law and the prophets. So a brief recap of everything that we've heard. And do not worry about life, what you will eat or what you will drink, because the Lord knows every hair on your head and loves you, and has only the best in store for us. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today. That is so wise. So there's a brief recap of what we've been looking at. But it's all encapsulated, isn't it, in the golden rule. And I have here somewhere, I think I just flipped the page by mistake, a story about two Hebrew rabbis. I'm going to try and find it because it's a really good, yes. Two teachers, roughly contemporaneous with Jesus. A certain heathen came before Rabbi Shammai, who was notoriously ferocious. Came before Rabbi Shammai and said to him, make me a proselyte on condition that you teach me the whole Torah while I stand on one foot. Thereupon he repulsed him with a builder's cubit which was in his hand. So I don't know what a builder's cubit is, but I'm guessing it's a rod of some sort or another. And then he went before Rabbi Hillel. He said to him, and when he went before Rabbi Hillel and said exactly the same thing, I want to make me a proselyte on condition that you teach me the whole Torah while I stand on one foot. Hillel said to him, what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbour. That is the whole of the law. The rest is commentary on it. Go and learn it. This is what Jesus is saying. Yeah? Jesus is saying, in everything do to others as you would have them do to you. Or love your neighbour as yourself, which is a perfectly legitimate translation of very similar stuff. Love your neighbour as yourself. That's the whole of the law and the prophets. No question, no argument. It's what Jesus has said to us. It is, if you look at the bulk of the narrative that runs along the top through the whole of the Hebrew scriptures, that is what it is. Yeah, love your neighbour as yourself. Crops up in Leviticus. I think it crops up in Numbers. It crops up elsewhere as well. I'm trying to remember where. I can't, so I'll hold off that. But this idea that we should not do to others what is hateful to us. Do as you would be done by, as Charles Dickens paraphrased it. The idea that there are only good things in store from God, ask and it shall be given, knock and the door will be open. That's a lovely thing. The very simple thing that we need to get our lives in order before we start advising others. You know, the speck and the beam, that story which has been with all of us since childhood, I guess. That's one of the ones they do in Sunday school, isn't it? And you might even have acted it out where you've had a beam that you hold and you can plainly, you can't see people. I think probably today in health and safety they'd use one of those plastic things that you use to float in the swimming pool. I think they're called nurdles or something. And you'd use that so that as you turned around with this beam in your eye, you wouldn't actually accidentally clock one of your fellow Sunday school members with the end of it. With a piece of wood, it would be quite painful, I guess. But I remember doing something like that. And of course, it's a brilliant parable or metaphor, live metaphor, because absolutely you can't do that. You can't see. And you can't really, and what Jesus is saying is you can't understand what's troubling someone else unless you yourself are organised and sorted out and your faith is clear and understood and well sorted out. So yeah, all good stuff, but it all boils down to that key thing in verse 12. In everything do to others as you would have them do to you. For this is the law and the prophets, and everything that's gone before, the Beatitudes, the acts of piety, other wisdom sayings, they all really come down to love your neighbour as yourself. And when we do that, God sees it and knows that it is our response to God's love. I hope that's been helpful this morning.